We are the City of Five Nations podcast, and we're in a series of 30 days of community building. And today, what a great guest we have, Commissioner James Herrod. And Commissioner Herrod, what would you like to share with residents about the COVID-19 struggle we face today and our municipal government efforts to help residents?
Well, I like to, I'm trying to stay in and not to be out and around and not do things. And, it's kind of lock down myself in the house. And of course, I'm of the age of the group that probably needs to I have some health conditions and being 80 years old, I want to watch out. So I've kind of locked myself down and staying, inside and not having much contact with anyone or anything like that. So I think if we can do that, we're probably, help. I know there's essential things that need to happen and carry on their businesses. But if we can kind of isolate ourselves and probably maybe straighten out the curves on the thing so that we can get it under control. And I just hope and pray that we don't have the same problems they have in New York and in California. And I hope Oklahomans and more especially people in Shawnee are cognizant enough to kind of self control and keep ourselves safe and keep our distance and so forth.
Well, we certainly appreciate you taking your time to be able to talk to everybody. And, James, there was life before your 2 decades of volunteer service. And many people don't realize that city commission service is volunteer service. And you've been with the commission nearly 2 decades. What was life like before your service with the city?
It's hard to remember that. I've served my first term in 2000, and I just came back from Kansas as superintendent in Kansas, and Kay and I just got married and started our home here, and wanted to get involved in the community. And I'd retired from education, so it's just a matter of having time and being able to volunteer and having the time to volunteer. And in 2004 through 2008, I was off the commission, and this gave me an opportunity to develop my electrical business and so forth. But one of the veterinarians here in town was on the commission and kind of talked to me about running, and I didn't even talk to Kay about it. I just went ahead and filled out the paperwork, and first thing I knew, I was running. So anyhow, I've really enjoyed my service with the commission, and I've served 16 years or 4 terms, and I was off 4 years.
Well, and that's a testament to just putting yourself out there and seeing what happens. What about encouraging other people to run, James? You've been a steady force on that commission for a long time, and there's 7 different wards. How is the process for running, and would you encourage other people to run?
Well, I think it's very rewarding because you get a lot of criticism too, but I've always tried to listen to the community and visit with the different ones, and I've talked to some 2 or 3 people about trying to get them to run in this ward, and trying to get some interest. It's pretty hard for people to give up that much time and want to, I just say, dedicate that much time, because you get your agendas, and I spend usually most of the weekend studying them, and then if I have any questions, I get on the email them back and forth to the city manager, to the staff, and then it takes several hours to do that, and that's twice a month. So it's time consuming, but I enjoy it. I like keeping informed and trying to ask informed questions, and try not to put the manager or any of the staff on the spot during the commission meetings. And also, try to give them a heads up what I'm thinking and some questions I have, and usually some of the other commissioners do too.
Well, and one of the most positive things for city residents to be able to stay informed has taken place during your tenure on the commission, Commissioner Herrod, and that is being able to go online to shawneeok.org and just search agendas and get past the ads that are there on the top of the search page. And then you can click and actually see all of the attachments that the commissioners have to study over the weekend before city commission meetings or after the city commission meeting. There's actually attachments that you can just click on and you see those right from the website. So as residents, all of us can stay informed to what the commission is actually considering during those minutes in the meeting. And Commissioner Herrod, something about yourself maybe that people wouldn't know unless they knew you quite well. Is there any fun fact or anything that you might share with us to help us get to know you a little bit better?
Well, most of you, of course, know that I went to school at Seminole. I worked for in a grocery store there in the bowling alley there, and also when I was in college, I worked 2 years as a Seminole policeman, and not very many people know that. I wasn't just about 21 years old, and when I got 21, I was allowed to go to work for the police department. So I worked for Lester Bush, who was the chief over there for 2 years, and before I graduated from college, and then started teaching physics at Enid High School back in that's 1961. So that's been a while.
I didn't know that you taught up in Enid. I had family up in Enid for quite some time. And you know, one of those moments, we all have those moments in our lives that something clicks and you just kind of know you're going to remember that moment and it has an impact. And one of those was we were, I think it was in Durant, and the mayor at the time, and this was early in the 2000s, came up and was talking to me about some of the things that we do and said that we ought to start working together. And it really impacted me that our elected officials are very approachable, that they very much want to talk with each of us. And James, you've always been that way. And from that date, we were able to establish a relationship with the city and with many of the city leaders. And it's been great. I mean, it's one way in which I knew from that moment, it was just, oh, this is just a person just like me trying to do good things and trying to help other people around us. And James, I'm wondering, a man who's 80 now, do you have maybe one of those photographic moments about some time in your life that you experienced and you just kind of knew you were going to remember that moment and it changed your perspective on something?
I can't just put my finger on anything at this very minute, but I've always known that I wanted to be, to help people, and superintendent of schools. That's what I tried to do there, is help the students, and more especially the ones that were having some kind of a difficulty, either disciplinarian or in school or with their grades or something like that. So I've always kind of tried to mentor those people and to help them. And throughout my career, I've mentored other superintendents, and used to talk to the state's ag teachers when they'd go out when they were out doing their student teaching and things like that. So I've always enjoyed, presenting my philosophy and the philosophy of life, and passing it along to other people. So I've met a lot of good people throughout the years that way.
Well, and you've always been approachable, James. I've known that about you. Anytime that I had a question or something, I could come to you, and you're always very frank. You know why that you're making your decisions, but you're open to other opinions, and I certainly appreciate that. And with your tenure, you have a unique opportunity or a unique perspective now to maybe share with us, what do you feel are the greatest opportunities that face us beyond this COVID and what's going on now, but beyond that, after that, what do you think are the greatest opportunities for our city coming up into the future?
Well, we've actually been moving, I think, forward rapidly, and we've done a lot of good things. And the marketplace is one of the things, and any kind of downtown Shawnee, the improvements that we've been able to make down there through the TIF district, and there's a lot of opportunities in Shawnee in the industrial area and building the spec building and all this business. All of that contributes to the future growth of Shawnee, and I'm very proud of what we've been able to do, and hope to continue with that growth. I don't know whether this is the appropriate place or not, but anyhow, I've decided then I'm going to refile again because I've been trying to find somebody to run in my place, but I haven't been able to find anyone with the interest and the background and that I have. I've had, I guess, 2 or 3 lifetimes in my life. I've served as superintendent. I've owned a retail business. My ex-wife and I had a shoe store in Holdenville when I was superintendent there, and I've been in the oil business, the construction business, and probably one of the few people around that can read the set of architectural drawings and civil drawings, and so that's to my benefit. That's what I've used to help review the plans on the police station, and when we built the remodel of Bryan Street Station, had a lot of input on that, and questioned a lot of things to make sure that we were getting our money's worth out of the projects, and not wasting any money.
Well, thank you for letting us know, James. And yeah, you are a man full of experience. And touching a little bit on what you said, the marketplace. Let's start right there. Tell us, why is the marketplace important for a city like Shawnee? And by the marketplace, for those that don't know, that's the area with Hobby Lobby and all of those different now retail outlets. Go ahead, James.
Well, the important thing is that we increase our base for shopping, and one of the things that the different surveys that we've had throughout the years was what our shortage on in having shops and places, the retail places to shop, was the Hobby Lobby, for example. People were driving to Midwest City and to other places to do that kind of shopping. So we felt it was important to make that step, and the Hunt were the ones that set that up and were able to draw those people in. And of course, we provided a sales tax incentive to them to help offset some of the rent, and to get those businesses in. It's really has paid off, and our sales tax is up this year about 3%. This virus is not going to help us any in the immediate future, but once we get past this part of it, we're just, I think, fortunate enough to be in financially in pretty good shape again, so that we can maybe we suffer through this shortfall that we're going to have in the next few months.
Yeah, being in front of that curve has definitely been an advantage. The Hunt brothers, or the Hunt Corporation that you're talking about, of course, were the developers for the Hobby Lobby. And talking about retail sales and retail sales taxes that we all pay, and that shortage because we would leave town and go to Hobby Lobby, that helps our own municipal government be able to recoup monies that we all were spending out of town. But even more than that, it means the other people from outside of our community that were driving to other places now stop in Shawnee because we're closer here on that eastern edge of I-40. And you had mentioned also, James, well, and before I leave that, I have a question just kind of off the cuff. I know that there was a second phase, or maybe even a third phase, and now that the school is going in over there by the marketplace, what is the second phase, or where are we with the second phase of that retail place, and what's your outlook for that?
Well, the second phase, we were hoping to get something like a Target or something like a Home Depot or something like that in there to as an anchor, but we were unable to attract any of those larger businesses because of the size and on the traffic. So what we've done, we've joined with the School Land Commission and started to lay out and to plat that, and to get maybe trying to get some interest on our own, and trying to get some interest through the school land that's pushing that to lease that. They won't sell it, but maybe they can they can lease it. And that's one thing the school was able to do, was to purchase that land from the school land commission for the school site out there. I think that'll will help the growth in residential growth and commercial growth in that part of the city. So I'm looking forward to that and what's going on there.
Okay. And then moving on to downtown, and you had mentioned something called a TIF district. For those who are not aware of exactly what a TIF district does and how that works alongside with our school system plus economic development, could you explain that and how it's benefited us over the last 15 years?
Well, a TIF district is a tax incentive district that's set up so that any improvements and it's agreed to by the city and the county, and those two are the ones actually that collect ad valorem taxes. The city doesn't collect ad valorem taxes, but the county and the school district I-93 have agreed that any improvement in that area, they set a base, and any improvement in that area, the taxes goes into a fund, and then that fund builds up over a 10-year period, and that money then used to improve that, like downtown Shawnee or like the Main Street project, and we've used that money to improve the phase two on the downtown Shawnee.
So that big $1 million plus addition that's happened along Main Street, TIF dollars were actually used to do that. In what's called the TIF districts, there is actually boundaries that are set up that any improvements within those boundaries go back into those boundaries for improvement. And you also mentioned a building. I believe it's the Economic Development Foundation. They and the city, of course, working together, put a building out there, a structure or a shell building you mentioned. Could you tell us what that is and how that helps?
50,000 square foot building, and I've used it for as an incentive to get people to maybe to finish out the inside of it and move into it. Of course, we've managed to get other industries. We've got, because of the building, that's made them interested in Shawnee. So the forestry and some of the things that's come in as been as a result of that building. The people up on Kickapoo Spur that they've bought the old Coke building and gone in there and remodeled it, and have not a frozen food but a food distribution center there. They've got, last time I passed there, they probably had 12 or 15 trucks up there that go out of there every day and deliver produce and food to different parts of the state from there. So it's been a economic development for the city. We haven't sold a building yet, but we have had a lot of interest in it and continue to have a lot of interest in it.
It becomes a showpiece, doesn't it? That people see that you've made that investment, and it might not be perfect for their needs, but it helps them to continue looking in our area.
Yes, and one of the things that another thing that's brought in, of course, out at the airport, we have the people that are have the leased planes that bring them back in, and they built a new hangar out there, and any kind of an addition like that, and any interest like that is really and they hire people and do work, and we were glad to see the Wolverine plant back up in operation again, and hiring and I'll say in production and moving forward on that too.
Yes, anything that can provide a few more jobs, high-paying jobs, and good opportunities for our residents, and getting new industry in town. And James, in your opinion, and considering only things which really our city government can control, what must we do to improve relationships with our coexisting 4 native nations that are within our city limits?
Well, I think we've had more cooperation in the last few years than it was in the first part of my when I first came on the commission. I went to bat for CPN with the planning department, and when Terry Powell was the city manager, to get them to hook up the water and the sewer for the Fire Lake grocery store to get it started, and we've that for some reason we got crossways with the with the CPN, but it seems like that relationship's greatly improved and getting better every day. So we've worked with the Sac and Fox and having their new chief that was our representative, and also from Shawnee really helps us. And we, with the kickboos and the absentees, all of them have been very cooperative and working together. And I was very happy to see them participating in the forum that we had at the Votech School about and the improvements and the amount of money they're putting into into this area of the state, not just Shawnee, but into Pot County as a whole.
Well, it sounds like you feel that they're very important in our economy and very important to work alongside of. And that's always encouraging as we can perhaps come together. Don't you feel it makes us stronger?
Well, sure. And the CPN, I think, has plans to improve Hardesty Road from 177 over to past uh, Gordon Cooper all the way out to their Ironhurst development out there. So, and they've also been CPN's helped on the railroad and trying to get the railroad active all the way to McAllister. And so there's a lot of good things that could happen. This takes one or two things to break through and to take place. And all of it works slow, but it just takes some time to get it rolling, and everyone's working on it. And the county commissioners and the economic development people and the city commissioner are all working together, trying to whatever we can do to improve it. And you was talking about the marketplace, because one thing we were doing is we weren't stopping enough traffic on I-40, and so since we have the Hobby Lobbies and now we have the addition, the sporting store and the mall and things like that, now people are stopping here instead of going to Midwest City and to shop. And Midwest City did a good job of developing that area right in front of Tinker Air Force Base there on the interstate. So they were attracting a lot of our business and a lot of people there. So we're finally, in some competition with them.
Well, and of course, that helps to add to our retail sales base, which helps to add to our general funding, which helps to add to our better streets, better safety and security, and the better parks and recreation and incentives that the city offers. Commissioner Herrod, thank you very much for being with us. And before I throw out our tagline, I want to give you an opportunity. You announced, it looks like publicly, that you're going to run again. Would you like to have a moment to be able to share anything more with your constituency?
Well, I think that the reason I decided to run was in order to help, I guess, my expertise in budgets and financing. And we have a new city manager and a new city treasurer, and they've done an outstanding job of bringing us back to, and financially in pretty good shape. And I'd like to see that continued. I'd like to see both of those people continue. And we've just got a good staff, and I'd like to see all that continued. And I, plan on working with them and making sure everything goes as we have planned and seeing the city move forward. We've got a lot of strong possibilities here, and I just like to see them move forward. And I don't want to turn my back on that. And I'd like to see the progress in the next years and make sure everything moves forward for Shawnee.
Well, forward is a good word for Shawnee. And I just want to clarify, hey, James, you typed in your own name there when you didn't capitalize that H on your name, I noticed. That was not us.
I have a major in math, not in English. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
English and public speaking was not my strong points.
Well, your heart today.
Thank you for your opportunity. I mean, I think you did a good job of promoting Shawnee, and for sure the city of Shawnee, and everything that we do is always in a positive manner. So I do appreciate your efforts in that manner.
Well, James, it's fine. I love to hear your heart, and I love to hear that when our leaders are talking about how stronger we are together. And especially in something like this, what I like to try to get across to everybody who watches is how approachable our volunteers are, how our city leaders are, how the professionals are within our community, and never feel like somebody doesn't want to talk to you. Just go ahead and approach them, even if you think you have differing opinions. Just always approach with an open mind and a kind heart to share your opinions, and then also be ready to hear other opinions without getting hurt or feeling frustrated. It's okay that we disagree, and through conversation, we'll be able to come closer and closer. Commissioner James Herrod, again, thank you very much for being a part of today's podcast, the 30 Days of Community Building series here on We Are City of Five Nations podcast, where all of us, remember, together we build community, one season at a time. See you guys.
Thanks. Bye-bye.